Am I the a-hole for writing a letter to the judge in my son's case asking her to not give him the minimum mandatory sentence? My son recently committed 2 horrible intimacy-related offenses, both involving individuals who were under 8 years old. He admitted his guilt instead of going to trial, which put his sentencing in the hands of the federal judge. He is unfortunately a repeat offender and was previously arrested 14 years ago and served 7 years. He violated his probation multiple times and has not stayed out of trouble since, which is why I kicked him out of the house. It's extremely troubling and honestly embarrassing to be his mother at times, but the unconditional love is too hard to shake. I keep in contact with him, but it's difficult to hide my disappointment in him. I hate that he ended up like this. He didn't hang around the best group of kids in school and got into plenty of drugs, but I never imagined he would become an intimacy offender. I wasn't able to let that go. This time, I met with the prosecuting attorney and he agreed with my decision to write a letter to the judge and probation officer to give them insight into how evil my son has become and why I think he turned out this way. Unfortunately, I blame a lot of my son's behavior on my ex-husband. He was a bad man. I found out that he had roped my son and daughter when they were children. My daughter came to me when she was a teenager and bravely admitted it all. They both knew it was happening to each other but had no idea how to bring it up to me. I felt like a horrible mother. I should have noticed something was going on, but I had no idea. It went on for 3 years of their childhood and I was ignorant to it all. Immediately after I found out, I divorced him. It took me over a decade of therapy to come to terms with it myself. I got my children the help they needed and I am so thankful that my daughter is okay. I can't help but feel that the trauma affected my son a lot more though. He would refuse to go to therapy sometimes, and although I didn't want to force him to go, I knew it was best for him. I truly believe that the crimes my son commits are due to the trauma he endured as a child. That doesn't make it okay at all, but it just gives me more regret as a mother knowing that the man I chose to marry was the one to do this to them. Nevertheless, at the end of my letter I asked the judge to not hold back on his sentencing. I do not want him to get the minimum mandatory sentence and be let go to commit more crimes against more children and contribute to more trauma. The cycle needs to end here. I love my son, but it doesn't mean I love the things he's done. It doesn't mean I love him enough to want him walking freely in the world. He has become a dangerous man and must be locked up. It's too late for rehabilitation. He had that chance many times. My son found out I wrote this letter and flipped out on me. I couldn't feel bad for him. I couldn't live with myself if he was let out, because I know he would re-offend and that terrifies me. Update: he finally went before the judge and was sentenced to the maximum punishment allowed. 27 years in federal prison. I felt relief at that moment. I hate that his life turned out this way, but I've done enough mourning for my son. All I can mourn for is the innocent children he has harmed and how they will have to live with it for the rest of their lives. My son is a monster and deserves to suffer in prison.